Hello and welcome to the Voice Den, session number 10. Hello, friends. Oh, it's so good seeing everybody in the chat there. If you are new here, as always is the case, we got to know that. So please type something in the chat to let us know that you are new and where you are from, so we can give you a great big Voice Den welcome from everybody that is here. So I see Andy, I see Rebecca, I see Nick, one of our Voicefluencers. We're going to get to him in just a sec. Ray, good to see Ray. I still think of Ray as the grand prize winner from our party session back in December. 10 already. We are in the double digits, I can't believe it. Can you believe it? 10 episodes. It's so great to have everybody here. And we've got some new people. Let's see. We got Marcus. He is new to the Voice Den from Cincinnati. Welcome, Marcus. Adam. Scott from Houston. Janice, hello. Cheryl, first time here from Chicago. There's Ian. Happy Wednesday, party people. Gabe, good to see you. All right, we got lots and lots of friends, lots of new faces, and lots of returning faces as well. You will see that there is a poll down at the bottom. If you want to click on that, you can say if you are a Voice Den rookie. And this is something that I do pretty much every episode. I'd love to see how many new people are joining us to the Voice Den. And right now, the way the votes stand, we've got 11 votes for, it's changing I feel like I'm like reading like a stock quote as it changes in real time here. Here we go. Yes is at 6 votes, 33%, 31%. It is going down. It's going up. Kind of like Bitcoin, down and up. Okay, here we go. Anyway, it's good to see everybody here. All right. We're super excited about this episode. We're going to have a lot of fun. What I need to know is if anybody is also drinking anything interesting in the Voice Den, what kind of snacks, what kind of drinks you have. So if you are indulging in something a little bit interesting, then please let us know that in the chat as well, because that'll be fun. That'll just be fun. All right. Before we go any further, I do need to thank our sponsors. And this is, and I do really mean this sincerely. Thank you so much to both of our headliner sponsors. We have Amazon Alexa as a headliner sponsor. They have been so generous and has been supporting the Voice Den for a long time. I want to put in the chat a link to an event that Amazon is doing tomorrow, and it is all about learning with Jeff Blankenberg about multi-slot, what that means. So can you say things like order, a pepperoni, a mushroom, and onion pizza? How you can do that. So that is an episode that is happening tomorrow with Jeff. So there is the link. I encourage you to click on that and save your spot for that. As well, we have not one, but 2 headliner sponsors of the Voice Den. And this is Google, of course, Google Assistant. Thank you so much to Google for making this possible as well. And as you know, Google has partnered with Modev to do voice talks. And there is the link for voice talks as well in the chat. So if you haven't reserved your spot for voice talks, then I encourage you to do that as well. Fantastic, a monthly event. All right, as well, I do want to give a shout out to our partners as well. Attention Live and Ian Utility. And I'm going to talk more about this in a moment. We're going to talk about NFTs in just a moment here. So Attention Live has been a great partner for the Voice Den since we started. Audio Brain, all of the fantastic audio sonic branding that you hear is done by Audio Brain and Audrey Urbini's team, and Voice Lunch, who are creating community as well in their own events. Fantastic. And it's just so wonderful to see the voice community get bigger and bigger. So big thanks to all of our partners. Okay. We have some introductions, I believe. So let's get to this. We have some Voicefluencers on this show. And if you're new to the Voice Den, what we do is we bring in a couple of guests, and then we're going to allow you to come up on stage and ask pretty much whatever you like. And we just keep our Voicefluencers on their toes that way. So without any further ado, I do want to introduce you to the Voicefluencers for this episode. And we have Dr. Ahmed Bouzid, and we're going to bring them up in just a moment once I go through all the introductions. He's the founder and CEO of Witlingo. Fun fact, he likes to collect Spider-Man stuff. We'll have to ask him a little bit about that. He is the CEO of Witlingo, a Virginia-based company that builds tools for publishing voice-first experiences such as Alexa skills, Google Actions, Bixby capsules, microcasts, and audio streams. Prior to Witlingo, he was head of product at Amazon Alexa and VP of product at Genesis. He holds 12 patents in human language technology and was recognized as a speech luminary by Speech Technology Magazine and among the top 11 speech technologists by voicebot.ai. So very, very pleased and excited to have Ahmed here, a true expert. We also have Diana Deibel, and she is the design director at Grand Studio with a background in conversation design and qualitative user research. She's also the co-author with Rebecca Evanhoe, who was a Voicefluencer recently, of the upcoming Rosenfeld book, Conversations with Things. You can most easily find her at the product design and strategy consultancy Grand Studio, or with her nose buried in a book. Then we have Caitlin Gutekunst, and she is the Senior Director of Marketing and Development at Creativity Inc. She is a versatile marketing executive with 12 years of experience helping companies launch innovative consumer products and define the future of brand engagement. As Senior Director of Marketing and Development at Creativity Inc., a design studio that develops electronic toys, games, and voice-first interactions for global brands like Disney, Hasbro, and Mattel, she has helped launch more than 25 voice apps and first-of-their-kind voice-controlled toys. She also volunteers on the board of Women in Voice and founded the Digital Kids Meetup group. So we're super excited to have Caitlin. And she's also a singer. And if you missed our debut little band thing, you can look that up on YouTube. It's a lot of fun. And then we have the sleeper, Nick Schwab. And Nick is the founder of Invoked Apps. He's an Alexa champion, a Google developer expert, and Bixby Premier developer who helps millions of people sleep through his company's Sleep Jar brand of voice apps. And I learned today on the Voicefluencer show that people request a snoring sound to fall asleep to. Just think about that for a second, okay? But it's true. That's what people want to listen to. So hey, there we go. I'm not going to argue with that. And I do want to say, normally we have 5 Voicefluencers. Today, Nick Godfrey from Rain unfortunately couldn't be here. He sends his regrets. Everything's fine, but there was something that came up last minute that he couldn't be here. That's fine. We are going to get him on one of the upcoming Voice Dan episodes. And so we will get a chance to speak with Nick Godfrey as well. What that means is that you all get more time with these 4 fabulous Voicefluencers. And with that being said, what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring them all up now onto the stage here so that we can say hello to them. And then we're going to get going with some questions. So let's bring up our Voicefluencers here. I'm just going to invite them up on stage. Nick, Caitlin, Diana, and let's find Ahmed as well. And there we go. Here we go. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
How's it going, Caitlin?
Good. Good to see everyone.
All right. So here's what I'm going to ask all of you. We have nicknames for each of you. So if you can just tell us what is the reasoning behind your nickname? That's what I want to know. That's what everybody wants to know. That's what everybody wants to know. So Caitlin, why don't you go first? The Instigator.
Oh man. So I started out my career in toys and kids licensing, brand licensing, and a lot of our conferences take place in either New York or Las Vegas. So a lot of trouble can happen there. Maybe not as much as like Newark or Chattanooga, but a lot of trouble. And so I always was looking for what the after party was, and people started to jump on the train. And one of my really good friends, Jordan, named me the Instigator because he would always text me and ask me, where's everybody going next? Where are the cool people hanging at? So I now tag on to other people's cool parties, but that's where I got my name, the Instigator. I also do partnerships, so it could be a lot more PC if I just said that.
we'll go with the former. It's more exciting, but awesome. Well, Caitlin, thanks so much for taking time. It's really great to have you here. We'll just go around the screen here. So Nick, do you want to go next? What's the deal with your name?
You know, I don't have a cool of a story as that. You know, I put people to sleep. So I was debating between the sleeper and the hypnotist. So I ended up on the sleeper.
You got to be careful if you just like introduce yourself as like, I just put people to sleep.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There's context there.
Right.
And is it not true that people request to fall asleep to snoring?
It's true. You know, I've had requests for snoring. We actually released that sound just a couple weeks ago, I think it was now. And we've had requests for even, stranger things like chainsaw sounds. There's weird requests
chainsaw sounds to sleep to.
Yeah.
Oh boy. You might want to jot down that person's name and
right.
Anyway, Nick, it's great to have you here as well. So thank you. Diana, let's hear about your name. Yours is an interesting one too. Tinfoil Hatter.
Yeah, I'm always for working in tech, especially as long as I have, I kind of hate it. That's my secret. I'm like an inner 90-year-old woman. Like I have my literal cardigan with like hard candies inside. And I just have a very strong, I think this is why my bent is more towards UX, is because I just really hate experiences that are difficult. And a lot of tech, when there are updates, it's often like, because there was something cool we could do, and it's not actually grounded in a user need or functionality that like makes people's lives easier. So I've kind of gotten a reputation for being sort of antagonistic and ready to go off the grid at any moment with my tinfoil hat on.
It sounds good. Well, great to have you here, and you've got a book coming out, so that's really exciting. That's right. We had Rebecca here before, so that's going to be. Wait, actually, is it available right now?
It's not available yet. It'll be available in April.
Awesome. So we'll have to get it ready to have a look at that. And Ahmed, you're on screen, but I don't see your camera. Are you able to hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me, guys?
We can hear you. We just can't see you. I see. Let me try this here.
Technical difficulties always.
Technical difficulties. We can hear you. We just can't see you, but we hear a voice, and that's what you're about, voice.
Oh
so
my
this
gosh.
is like
So
this is
I'm
like true voice technology.
I'm like the voice from above, right?
From above. That's right. That's right.
Okay, we got to fix this. But thank you so much, Teri, for inviting me. Really excited to be here with all these fabulous people. A lot of energy, a lot of intelligence. I can see it in everybody's face and eyes and the way they carry on every single day. I follow everybody here. So yeah, thank you so much. What was your question again?
The nickname, is it I'm not gonna try to pronounce it. Didou? Didou. Okay.
It's Didou, yeah. So Didou is so I am up from Algeria. And so I'm gonna put everybody on the spot right here. What continent? I'm not gonna be very demanding. What continent is Algeria at?
Oh, you're putting everybody on the spot.
Yes. Come on, guys.
Continent Africa.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Thank you for saving us, Diana.
All right, excellent. Well, I'll let you know that I would say 90% of the time they say somewhere between Iran and Russia.
That covers it.
Okay. Well, Didou is basically young man in Algerian Arabic, right? So it's like, hey, how's it going, friend? Young guy, right? So that's what it means. So now you guys learn two things: where Algeria is and Didou.
There we go. Perfect. From the voice from above. I love it. All right. So we'll see if you can organize the camera. If not, that's okay. We're gonna when it's your turn, we're gonna hear your voice from above, and that's what we're gonna go with.
Impolite, yeah. But
so,
I'll try.
No problem. So the way this works is for those of you that have been here before, you'll know the way this works. And I see that we've already got a number of questions in the Ask a Question button at the bottom. If you're new to the Voice Den, you will see a little text box at the bottom that says Ask a Question. That is where you can type in your question to any one of our Voicefluencers. And then the fun part about this is that you can then vote on your favorite question. So even if you don't ask a question, you can vote on them. And then we're going to bring up the people that ask those questions to have that conversation. So with that being said, I'm going to dip into the question bank here and let's see. And the first one is from Ray. So Ray, I'm going to invite you up on screen here. And he talks about, what do you see as the next big thing in voice? Why don't we get, let's get Ahmed to stay here. And we've got all three of you here right now. Put up your hand if you'd like to take this question, or if you want to defer to somebody. If you want to take this question, put up your hand. I'm going to give you guys the option.
How does one put up their hand?
Sorry?
How do I put up my hand?
You put up your hand. Oh, okay. Let's go with, okay, Nick will take it, and then we'll get the ladies after that, all right? So I'm going to, we'll invite you two back up in a moment. We'll say goodbye for now, and then we'll see you back in a moment. All right. So let's do that. And we'll do this. And Ray as well. I'm not seeing a camera, but I think we can hear your voice, Ray. Do you want to say something there?
Hey, Teri, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. We can.
Oh, I don't know what's up with the camera. Should be on. But
that's
hi, everyone.
interesting. So you'll know the way this works. And for new people, we're going to put a 5-minute timer up on the clock. And we're going to allow you a few seconds to introduce yourself and ask the question. And then Nick and Ahmed will give you their take on this. All right. So
Okay.
with that, go ahead.
Yep. So I'm Ray from Toronto. I work in program management for IT emerging technologies. And you probably remember me. I won the Crack the Code contest, and I'm super enjoying all the prizes. Thanks again. Shout out to all those sponsors. I'm loving all the stuff. I even made a voice app, and I've got my Hereafter AI and been playing with Speak to Web and all those great tech prizes. Thanks again. So so my question is, what's the next big thing in voice tech this year? Asking the experts, because I'm really always looking for the next big thing.
Perfect. So who would like to tackle? Do you want to go with that first, Nick, since you're on screen here, and just give your thoughts?
Yeah. So, Teri, we kind of talked about this earlier in the day, and I kind of just want to reiterate it, that I think in voice, we're missing this social aspect. We've seen a lot of great games being made for voice and other apps as well, but we're missing the social aspect that kind of takes it to the next level. So I really think that we're going to see, companies and individuals investing more time in building more complicated technology that allows folks to build a game where you actually play against your real friends, whether they're on Facebook or folks on Twitter, things like that, or maybe even Clubhouse, where you can play in real time through voice, not just play like a pre-recorded game session that somebody else already did.
Interesting. So the whole social aspect, very interesting. Ahmed, what about you? What do you think? What's the next big thing?
So you guys can hear me, right?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Wonderful. I'm hoping that there is nothing that we can call the big thing, to be honest with you. I think we've had enough of these splashes, right? I think I hope we will settle down and mainstream it. If voice goes mainstream, that will be the biggest thing ever. Meaning, if companies start saying, "I would like to have a skill. I would like to have my podcast, and I have to have a skill. I have to have voice presence," right? So the next big thing I'm hoping, so this is not a prediction, but a hope really, is the mainstreaming of the need to be on audio, taking audio seriously as a channel with various components. A component might be the skill or the podcast, as well as maybe your articles are voiced, right? Like Trinity Audio, they have that offering, right? I would love to see that going into the mainstream as opposed to what appears to be now, there's pelting, right? They pelt you with the Clubhouse. You get Clubhouse coming in. You get this Trinity Audio, and you get Skills, and you get Skills 2.0. And it just feels very noisy for folks who are not in our world. If you talk to people who are not in our world, it's like, what is going on over there at Voice? What the hell is going on? For them, they have their life, they're doing their thing, and they just once in a while bump into this voice. It's very much like if you guys remember, probably you were young, when mobile started to come about, right? Like, what is this mobile? Because everybody was thinking BlackBerry, right? And everybody's thinking BlackBerry, email. That's great. That was a quantum leap, right? Going from whatever, where you have to go to your desk to get your email, where you can actually go in your car, you can check your email. Massive, right? All of a sudden, the iPhone showed up. Like, what is this toy, right? What is this toy? It doesn't even do email well, and there's no keyboard, right? And so there was a lot of confusion about it, right? And it took a while for it to settle. Same thing with social. For a while, like, what is this Twitter? What do we do with it? What Facebook for business? It took years to get to that point. I'm hoping that we are at least beginning into the phase of mainstreaming. And I think I've ate up all the 5 minutes. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Can you see the screen, by the way, Ahmed?
I can see. I can see you. You're pretty face, and everybody else is pretty face.
Okay, well that's great. Well then, that's great. Unless Nick, do you have anything else to add to that? Or otherwise, move on.
No. I agree with that too. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, great, fantastic. All right, well, Ray, thank you very much for your question. Very much appreciated.
Oh, thank you. And also, I popped into Voice Lunch the other day too, by the way. So kudos to them too.
Awesome.
So
they're doing a fantastic job as well. So good. I'm glad you found those guys as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay. Bye
all right.
now.
Thanks, Ray. We'll see you later. All right. Cool. The next question that I see is from Roger. Roger, I'm going to invite you up on screen here as well. And it's sort of related to the discussion that we just had. I think I'm going to swap out, in this case, Nick. I'm going to swap you out, and I'm going to bring in Caitlin, and then I'm going to bring Diane up for the next question. So we'll go with Caitlin and Ahmed for this one. So let's do that. Oh, we are having some issues with the video, looks like. All right, we'll do our best to work around this little technical glitch. Okay, no problem. So Roger, can you hear us then?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm not sure why we're having issues bringing people up on screen, unfortunately, but that's the way it is right now.
Well, it's a bad hair day, so I don't need to be on screen.
all right. I do want to invite Caitlin up, and we'll see. Curious to see if Caitlin is able to get on screen or if it also does the same thing. But we'll deal with whatever it is. All right. So okay. So there we are. Let's see how we're doing here.
No, I'm in the top.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so Caitlin, we got you on screen. Interesting. Okay, well, we're going to go with it the way it is. I'm going to bring up the timer, Roger. And this is sort of, building on the last question, but it's such a hot topic right now. I think it's worthwhile discussing some more. So, Roger, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so your opinion on Clubhouse, and I guess I'd add in Twitter Spaces and, kind of this social media. Is this hype? Does it have legs? What's your thinking around it?
Caitlin, you want to go ahead? Yeah. Oh, Caitlin, I think you're, are you muted? Oh, there you go. Now you're not muted.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't on my, yes, starting over. So I don't think it's hype. I think this is the way things are going. And I'm actually pretty surprised that it took so long to get here, especially with the pandemic. Everything has moved virtual and podcasts were already surging before then. I think people are tired of looking at screens and being on screens, but they still want to be involved and they still want to hear from influencers. I think there's also a movement in marketing where everybody's moving away from being distant, and everybody wants to be closer to brands and to hear their opinion on social justice issues, climate change, everything that's going on in our society. And so this is giving brands a chance to be closer to, or brands, influencers, whoever it is. It's giving them a direct line to their population. And so I think that it's just showing where we were going from Twitter and Instagram and everybody who had a direct line to their audience before, and that this is just a way for them to have a stronger voice and to really feel present. We see that. I studied kids in particular, and we noticed a big trend where their heroes were started to be listed as YouTube stars and other people who looked like them and felt like them, and so this just makes it easier for people to relate.
Awesome. Ahmed, do you want to jump in there and your thoughts on Clubhouse as well?
Yeah, sure. No, definitely, I agree. I agree with Caitlin for sure. I think I was even though I have been in voice, I was surprised, to be honest with you. Like you said that you're surprised it took so long. I didn't see it coming. Surprisingly enough, because it just when I see it now. It's just conference calling, but of course it's not. It's much more than that. I don't think it's a fad. I think it may very well be, and I hope that they're not, because I wish them well. They may be the Friendster of social media, right? Like they came in first and they created this burst. You guys remember Friendster, right? And then there was MySpace, and then somebody came in and just learned all the lessons and did it right? But it feels like this is not a fad. And the thing is, the use case, meaning why do people use it, is because if you're having a bad hair day, or you're in the car, or you're in the kitchen, or you can just plug in, right? And you can plug in easily, plug out easily. Just drop in, drop out. None of the hassles of the nightmare of conference, go to meeting where you always take 5 minutes to get things straight, right? Here, just pop in, pop out, right? So I think one of the reasons why they're succeeding is the interface. I think it's so beautiful and so easy, so intuitive, and the social dimension is there. So the whole thing about ease of use of voice, which is the key thing, voice has to be, I say something, I jump in, I talk for 5 minutes, I get out, right? Or I pop in and listen for 10 minutes, I get out. It's got to be easy is out, right? And the interface itself, the medium itself is so, it's not heavy. You don't have to look at something. You don't have to. You can just listen. So the whole feeling of it, and the application conveys that, right? It doesn't have a lot of colors. It's very simple. It just conveys simplicity. So I think they got it right, and I don't think it's a fad. I think it's here to stay for sure.
Awesome. And sorry, anything else to add to that, Caitlin?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we're seeing that the big platforms are already copying this to try and grab back some of that attention. But even before, I mean, one could say they didn't see it coming, but before this, Spotify and Pandora and big platforms were trying to sign people so that they could own this type of content and buying lots of companies. So the money was already following all of this direct audio. So I think that it was long overdue. I think also this idea of content being short and ephemeral and maybe being erased after some time is a nice thing, because you can comment really quickly. But of course, some people are going to be listening, and I'm sure there's going to be some mishaps with brands participating in the wrong way in some of these conversations. So we'll see when that happens.
All right, and we just beat the buzzer. All right, I can actually stop it because we did it. We beat the buzzer.
We did it.
All right, good stuff. Well, Roger, good question. I can say that I know for a fact that some people here right now in the Voice Den are people that I have met through Clubhouse, which is just incredible, because otherwise we wouldn't have met, and I would have missed out on the opportunity to meet these people. So it's really, anyway, it's a lot of fun. I'm loving it. And that's an opportunity for me to plug this. Right after the Voice Den here, we're going to jump on Clubhouse for an after party. So if you are able to, I know unfortunately it's not on Android. They are working on that. But if you're able to, right after this, we're going to jump on Clubhouse as well. So Roger, thanks so much for participating again, as usual. Great to have you.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right. Let's jump into the question bank here. And now we're going to bring up Rebecca. And for this question, I think I'm going to swap out Caitlin and Ahmed, and we'll bring up Diana and Nick. So we'll see you two in a little bit. Okay. All right. So let me just bring up the appropriate people here. Nick and Diana. All right. And we'll see. All right. Oh, and your video works. Awesome. Awesome. Hi, Rebecca. How are you? Except I can't hear you. Oh, there we go. Now I can. I think you were muted. Welcome. Good to see you again. Rebecca is a previous Voicefluencer, and I'm excited for this question because I think you've got two people here that can give some really great insight into this. So
yeah.
You go ahead. You go. The floor is yours.
Totally. So my question is, what is something, and I'm speaking from my own, review of my own experience. What's something that you screwed up or that went really badly in your work as a designer or developer that you will never forget? Like, what's one of your big lessons?
Rebecca, do you want to go? Oh, sorry, Diana. Diana, you wrote the book together.
We are interchangeable. That is true.
I meant Diana. Sorry, Diana.
I'm trying to actually think if it's, so there's two that come to mind. One is dealing with stakeholders, and the other one's dealing with users. The stakeholder one is really short, so I'll tell that one first, and then we can circle back. The first time that I ever built anything in a VUI, I didn't know any documentation. I think probably anybody who's first learned it and learned it on their own knows no documentation. So I was just like, I don't know, I'll make something up. And I kind of made a flow chart of my own shapes and my own arrows and my own, just putting everything into the boxes. But I had prompts that were way too long. And I was also trying to put them in the flow and then share them with stakeholders and share them remotely, virtually. And it was not great. They were not able to follow what was going on because they didn't understand the technology. I was not doing a good job of explaining it. And they had no way of giving notes because I put it in a PDF that was unintelligible. So that sat with me, and I was like, well, I got to figure this out because clearly this cannot continue. And I'm sure Nick is probably like, oh, sweet God, that's how you would hand that off to a developer.
Cool. Nick, do you want to comment?
Yeah. So on my side, kind of the technical side of that question, early on when I had, when I had I don't know what it was, 50,000 users a day. I made a mistake where I pushed some code without fully testing it, and it was at like 9 o'clock at night, like prime time when people are starting to use the sounds to sleep. And I pushed some code and it resulted in errors. Like every single request would start erroring out because I didn't test it. I jumped the gun on it. I pushed it out. I shouldn't have. I should have tested it. But I immediately saw, like 10,000 errors in Lambda within a span of about 10 seconds. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Immediately rolled it back. And of course, since then, I always test my code before rolling it out.
Good advice. Go ahead, yeah, Diana.
Yeah, I similarly always test my prompts before putting them in any even kind of pilot. With something very similar, I was working with, I'm not a smoker, I've never been a smoker, but I was working for smoking cessation outreach. And I'd done stuff before in like a interactive internet context, but like there were visuals and it was storyline. I was like, oh, I'll just take those same learnings and apply them to voice. What could go wrong? And wrote out this whole script and was just like, okay, maybe I should just test it with like 1 or 2 people before I actually roll this thing out. And like, thank God, because all the humor and all the jokes that I had thrown in to accommodate on the internet side of things when I did it voice only went horribly awry because there was no like visual context to set the humor. So it just sounded like your doctor was like making these weird dinosaur jokes about cigarettes. Like it went off the rails very quickly. But very same, Nick, where I was like, no, pull it back.
Yeah. So, on the technical side, like it's easy to undo the change, just push some new code and fix it within the matter of seconds, right? But if you mess up your voice model, and you push that out, up until recently, Alexa introduced a rollback option, you had to go through certification all over again, and that would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
100%.
Cool. All right. Anything else to add from both of you? Those are good lessons learned. All right. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for the question, Rebecca. Great to see you again.
Yeah.
And thanks for the answer, both of you. So fantastic. All right. We'll move things along here then. Okay. Good to see you, Rebecca. We'll see you in a bit. All right. So we'll jump into the question bank here again. And this one is for, okay, so this is Mark Tucker asking this one. I'm going to bring up Mark, and he's directing this towards Nick. It's about voice app monetization. So we'll keep Nick up here. Dana, do you want to speak to that, or shall I bring someone else as far as voice app monetization?
I'm not an expert in voice app monetization.
I'm gonna bring up. Yeah, I'd love to get actually Caitlin's take on this, just because she does work with bigger brands, and even if it's not necessarily directly with the voice app monetization, then just curious on sort of the business side and what she's seeing. So I'm going to find Caitlin as well here, and we'll bring up Caitlin as well. And Mark, let's see if Mark is up here.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mark. How's it going?
Hey, Stuart. Doing well.
All right. Good to see you again. Mark is another voice. We got the Voicefluencers asking the questions of the Voicefluencers. This is great. All right. Amazing. Well, Mark, good to see you again. I'm going to, I'll start the timer and I'll give you the floor. All right.
All right. So the general topic of this question is monetization of voice experiences. That could go into monetization of voice-enabled toys. That's fine too. But I know that actually I watched a presentation Nick did a number of years ago, shortly after the whole I could buy a Tesla because my skills and actions make lots of money.
Oh gosh.
So I am just wondering, how has the monetization landscape changed since those wonderful wild days?
Oh boy.
Never
He was worried this would fall
Tesla
him.
story down, huh? Yeah. So yeah, back when that story went out, monetization was still in its early days. So the money that I had earned to buy that car was actually through the rewards program. So that was over the course of many months. But since then, we introduced monetization in our skills, and it's going really, really well. To the point where we can actually hire a team and we have predictable revenue month over month, where we can do things with more confidence. And I'm seeing conversion rates that are definitely on par, or maybe even slightly better in certain circumstances as mobile. So I think in-app purchasing through voice is very bright, has a great future. on Alexa. I think they pretty much nailed the experience. It's beautiful. I think when it comes to other platforms, Bixby currently doesn't have in-app purchases at all. And Google Assistant, they have them, but all right, I'm a Google developer expert, so they don't pay me to say anything. So I can say whatever I want. It has to be the truth. So I will say that, Google Assistant needs some work when it comes to monetization. It's a little bit hard as a developer to add it into your actions, and it's hard as a consumer to actually complete the purchase in a frictionless way. I'll say that. So if anybody's out there listening right now at Google and wants to talk about this, I'd be happy to talk about it, on the side.
Awesome. Caitlin, go ahead. Let's hear your take just on monetization and voice and your experience with your company.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad Nick led with this one because we don't actually do any in-app purchases or premium skills or actions, because most of our actions are child directed. So we have to be really creative in the way that we are monetizing in that space. And honestly, I think that we design around it just so that we can make things more accessible. So one of our case studies that's live is with Disney Music, and we built a skill called the Disney Hits Challenge, which is one of our best performing skills. And it was originally designed to answer the question of how voice platforms would influence streaming music and the monetization there. So Disney ultimately was really excited about how Spotify and Amazon Music and YouTube was going to be driving more revenue from them in that particular space. So we don't always look at the direct monetization from the skills, but how it influences the full funnel. Another angle that we look at is on connecting products to it and just being creative about where that purchase really happens. So as everybody knows, our company has helped a couple of toy manufacturers with producing voice controlled toys. So of course the physical purchase is a very tangible value for parents. And so we don't monetize the skill, but we do monetize with the product, which, there's still a hard cost to developing the software interaction, and that has to be baked into the toys, which are sometimes extremely low price points. Magic price point in toys is about $20. So have to be really creative and try to amortize that over the full development scope.
Oh, good responses. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much. That's a really great question, Mark. Good responses. It's interesting. And Nick, for the record, you're always gonna be known as the Tesla guy, like it or not. Like that's the way it's gonna go. So good for you. I mean, you're one of the success stories for sure, and to be able to be doing this full time, it's great. So Mark, again, good to see you. Wonderful to see you.
Yeah, thanks.
And we'll see you soon, I'm sure. All right.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Great question.
All right. Excuse me. Let's dip right back into the question bank and keep going. I'm seeing a lot of, just as an aside, there's a lot of discussion about NFTs towards the end. I may just call it, just to give you a heads up, I may call you up here just to explain this, because this has some relevance to the voice, Dan, and there's a lot of talk about NFTs. So just be ready for that, Ian. All right. So let's dip into the question bank here. And there's a question from Larry. And I'm going to invite you on screen. This is more of a technical question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up Ahmed and apps for the independent proprietary devices. I'm going to bring up Ahmed, and I'm going to bring up Diana, because I'd just like to hear your perspective as a designer. Okay, so we're going to swap out the two of you for a bit here. All right, we'll see you two in a bit. Okay. So Diana will bring you up on screen, and Ahmed will bring you up on screen. And okay, here we go. You are back. Awesome. Good to see you. Yep. Ahmed, I think we are limited to your voice again. But Larry, welcome to the Voice Den.
Hi, great to be here. I think this is the third or fourth time I've joined, and I always enjoy it.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. It's great to have you here. I'll start the timer, and I'll give you a few seconds if you want to introduce yourself and ask the question, and we can get maybe the sort of more technical answer from Ahmed. And then also we have a voice designer that can talk about sort of the design aspects of it as well. All right. So floor is yours.
Okay. Well, my name is Larry Aronson. I'm Chief Technical Officer of the Actionable Marketing Guide. I've been a web developer since the very, very early days back in the early 90s. Anyway, my question is there a need for voice apps that are independent of proprietary devices from companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft? I mean, something like a Linux or a Mozilla for voice. I mean, I'm not disparaging your wonderful sponsors, but I can imagine that there must be use cases that shouldn't or would prefer not to be on a platform that has a mile-long terms and conditions document.
Sure. Who wants to take that first? Do you want to go ahead? Go ahead, Diana. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, just from your perspective. Yeah, whatever you can offer.
So I know that, first of all, there is a place that, or there is a platform that exists that is open software. It's called Modbox, or rather the game is called Modbox. I think the company name might be OpenAI GPT-3. Really rolls off the tongue. But they do open source for voice interacted computer games. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool. And like from a design perspective, when you are actually putting it in the way that you would do like for kind of like a lo-fi prototype sort of thing, it's very similar to the Google or Amazon interface in terms of like inputting stuff and connecting things and where the prompt would lead and et cetera, et cetera. So that works. And then I think from just like an ethical standpoint, I think it's really good to have a couple independent players where you don't have the issues of information collection and the algorithm trainings or mistrainings. I mean, you're still going to always have that anytime a human's involved. But I think we've seen with Google, with Amazon, with Microsoft, that there have been some, and Apple as well, like some snafus with not being super cognizant of people's, the users that are going to be using this and where they're coming from, and being particularly mindful of privacy issues, of inclusivity, and an independent platform has a big opportunity, I think, to play in that space.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is a JavaScript interface for voice recognition and voice synthesis. It's not really ready for prime time, but it's there. Maybe that's one of the directions that we can have voice apps that are just resident on the web.
Great. Ahmed, you want to comment as well? We can't hear you though, Ahmed. Oh, now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Now we can.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so sorry about that. It's just a bad day for technology. It's not cool. Be that as it may, I think we are going to see a general movement off the cloud where we will have, like for example, there is software recognition now happening on resident, meaning on the device, and a lot of companies are working to get it on the chip, right? So you can do a lot of stuff on the chip. So the voice doesn't have to go to travel up and down. So that's one thing. And I think in general, data, for example, is not going to be living in the cloud the way it is right now. Just completely. Right now, we're just totally, letting loose. We don't care. Our data is up there and all that. There's a movement that's taking us away from that. And I think the paradigm is going to be where data is going to be a resident. And software is going to be a resident, but there'll be pipelines that will allow communication to be safely, right? So if I want to go and tap into the Amazon cloud for a book, right? I don't have to, it doesn't have to be a thick pipeline. Just, I have a request. I get the request, come back. You don't know who I am. I just asked for it, and everything is happening locally. So I think just like right now, remember the days, you probably remember the days because I do, when I couldn't get my brain around the cloud. I just couldn't, right? Everything was local. I think we're going to go back to that world of local. And right now, a lot of these folks who are young, they can't get their brain around local, where everything is local, right? And the only thing that goes, is the pipeline of information, but in a very thin way, not in the thick way right now, where everything is in the cloud and the client is thin. So I think that we're going to see that, and voice is going to be part of that as well. Yep.
Wonderful. All right. Perfect.
Thank
Larry,
you.
Thank you so much for your question. Very much appreciated. Good to see you here on the screen. And thank you for coming to the Voice Den a number of times, and hope to see you back. So thank you very much. All right. Fantastic. So let's dive in here. We've got about 15 minutes, so we can get in maybe a couple more questions. This next question comes from Scott. Scott, I'm going to invite you up on the screen and wondering about how we overcome the need for Wi-Fi. Okay, so this is sort of more of a, looks like a technical question as well. So I'm going to I think I'll bring Nick back up here with Ahmed for this one. See you in a bit, Diana. And gotta find you, Nick. There you are. Okay, fantastic. Hello, Scott.
Hello from Texas.
How are you?
I'm well. We just spoke a couple of days ago.
That we did. Amazing. Small world. Here we are. So great to see you. I'll just throw the floor over to you and you can ask your question and we can see what our two voicefluencers have to say about that. All right.
So what I'm running into is from time to time, I don't have internet capabilities and I want to use, one of my many devices. And so I'm just stuck, and the hotspots, they're out there, but they're not to that degree. Is this something that we can overcome as an industry to where it'll move that way? Because currently there are none of these devices that have the Wi-Fi capabilities built in that I'm aware of. What are some solutions, and is this going to be something that can be fixed? And I'll just let it hang.
Well, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, sorry to be asking every time. So I'll give you my thought on the fact that not everything that you do on your Alexa or your Google really needs to go up and down, right? For example, timer, which is one of the most widely used thing, right? And the alarm. Why does it have to go, all the way through satellite and whatever and come back on right? And plus, the speech recognition is not challenging, right? So you could probably do 80% of what you asked for locally. So to the point I was just talking to, I think things like finding out the weather, right? Or if your local, liquor store is still open, whatever, you need to have access to some place where that information lives. But I think we can solve some of the problems by having everything live on the device, which is doable, which some people are doing it. But I think there will always be need to access, if that's the question, like, can we do everything locally? Maybe that was your question. But to the extent I understand it, I think we can, only for some functions. So go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think it's kind of a twofold question. One, you can kind of bring a lot of the voice, speech recognition onto the device, do that locally, but there are some things that are always going to have to go back out to the internet to achieve. Whether it's getting real-time data, like the weather report, things that you just can't reasonably download the data set for constantly to have offline for a long period of time and have them be accurate, right? Or in cases, like my sleep sounds, like it'd be great to have those be cached on the device instead of having to download them every single time. But at the same time, these companies that are making these smart speakers, they're trying to make them at such low costs in order to get them to consumers at low costs, that they're trading off the ability to do it all locally versus doing it in the cloud. And as consumers, having that technology in the cloud, it allows, if the Amazons and Googles of the world to push updates to us even faster, right? Instead of getting a big download package onto our devices in order to update how well it can understand us, they're able to make that change on the back end and have it hit our devices instantly, essentially.
Yeah, and that's why I'm looking for an option for the people that don't have the Wi-Fi, because I've run into customers of mine that don't have Wi-Fi. So now I've got to set them up with a hotspot. I mean, do you two think that if somebody came out with a smart speaker that had Wi-Fi or hotspot built into it, do you think that would sell? Yeah,
I think it would sell. I absolutely think there's a lot of people out there who just refuse to get the Echo because of privacy. They just refuse, and especially the older population. And I don't blame them, to be honest with you. And maybe they are wiser than us, to be honest with you. And so those folks would definitely buy it as long as they do believe that it's not going to the cloud, because now they've been sort of like, they're suspecting, like, yeah, sure. This is like the Echo. It does go to the cloud. So how does one convince those folks? But the paradigm of the alarm clock, you plug it and it does a lot of things for you, right? I think we can. In fact, the technology is here. I think the limitations are things like I was saying, like cost, as well as they do want to still collect. I mean, Alexa is good and Google is good, but they have a long way to go. They need a lot of training. You know, if you want to go to the next level of truly conversational, I'll give you an example of where the envelope needs to be pushed, right? I'm talking to you right now, all right, and it's just back and forth, and I say Alexa in passing and so on, but she wakes up, right? With enough training, Alexa will know that we were talking about her as opposed to her, right? Right. So
now we're talking how. Now we're talking.
Right. If you're talking about
Space Odyssey.
You have enough data. Exactly. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now we're talking HAL. Now we're talking Space Odyssey.
Yeah, no.
It's doing, Michael.
The data which they are collecting, 10, 9, they're collecting is necessary for them to solve that problem. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate the time.
That timer's not distracting at all, is it, Ahmed?
No, it's all good. Keeping.
All right, Scott, great to see you. Thanks so much for your question. Really appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
All right, I think we have time for one more question, and so it's a great question I think to finish off as I'm gonna swap out you two guys for the two ladies. This is from Julia, so I'm gonna invite Julia up on screen as well. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm gonna call up our counterparts here. So let's do that here. Okay, so let's find. Hello, welcome to the Voice Den.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. I'm going to bring up. Here we go. This is a little bit of the juggling act here going on right now. So Diana and Caitlin. So let's do that. Okay, and yes, there we go. All right, and we'll see you in a bit, Nick and Ahmed. All right. Well, welcome, Julia. It's nice to see you here, and thank you for being part of this.
My first Voice Den, so I'm very excited.
All right.
So far,
you are a rookie Voice Den attendee. Awesome. Yeah. So good to have you here. So you know the way it works. I'm gonna reset the clock here for you, and then I'll give you a couple minutes. You can introduce yourself and ask your question, and I think it's a great question to finish off with. So welcome. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'm based in Los Angeles. I'm a UX designer transitioning into conversation design. So this has been a great community just to hear how all experts have been thinking about voice first technology. One of the things I've also been thinking about is trying to understand if there are any populations or demographics that would benefit from voice first technology, because when I think of voice first technology and the people who are using it, it's really not even my peers. It's mainly a lot of my older relatives who really enjoy using, who think it's more natural to actually talk to a system rather than actually using a screen. So that's one that comes to mind, but I'm wondering if any of you all have other demographics or populations that you all see are the next up in terms of the next need for a voice first app.
Great. Who wants to go first? Let's take that.
Diana.
Yeah, I can take that. So the first group that I think is, I won't necessarily say underserved, but just like maybe not thought about as much. Caitlin will probably agree with me, which is kids. Kids, very similarly to older people, often want to just like speak things, and they may not even know how to read or write yet. So it's like the only way they can communicate. And a lot of times we don't necessarily gear things towards them, but it can be very helpful for their learning and just for like general interaction. Also people with English as a second language. When you can create a voice path for them to either to learn the language that they want to learn. I'll say English for now because we're in the US, but could be any language. But also just because things on the internet tend to be very English oriented because a lot of them are derived from the US. And we tend to design around the US, and having something that's more geared to somebody's culture and language and conversation being so culturally tied can feel a lot more comforting in a way that something on a screen doesn't necessarily feel. I'll kick it to Caitlin.
Yeah, that's a great response. I love what you said about ESL in particular, because what I found, even being like, I took Spanish as a second language in here in the US, and our teachers did not have native accents. And so, you know, at TTS, voice is maybe not native, but if you have a fully recorded solution for that, then kids actually get to hear accents and to practice and reinforce those learnings. So I love that use case. The other thing I'll say about kids is that they really test the model because they're learning speech and they're looking for reinforcement from people. I really think that it's important to, not replace formal learning and the parents' involvement in that process, because they're looking for emotional cues as well as just like a response. And if it times out or it doesn't work, then they get really frustrated and feel like they take it personally. So there's ways to design good experiences for them, but I think they're the population nobody really wants to admit is driving a lot of the voice interaction, really testing it. The other population that comes to mind, or two actually, is people who have impairments or accessibility issues. And so you could loop seniors into that, because all of us are losing some faculties. Me, I'm like ready for glasses, I think, these days with the amount of time I spend in front of a screen. I never thought I would wish that we could have in-person meetings, more of them, but right now I'm feeling that way. But, the ability to both, if you have a screen, you can both see things and hear them. And so I've been experiencing a lot of just sadness not being near my family who's all in New York, and especially my 96-year-old grandma who can't really hear anything at this point. And the fact that she has screen reinforcement and like she loves emails and that type of thing, but she just likes seeing me, and she's always like, I have no idea what you're saying, but I love you. And if she could have closed captioning as part of that, or if she could really see what she's hearing through both the multimodal aspect of voice, then I think that would be great. So those are, I guess they're all differently abled in some way.
Yeah, that's actually a good point on the differently abled. A lot of people think about that as like a permanent thing, but there's even temporarily disabled situations where, like, if you have a cast on your leg and you just can't get up and walk somewhere, having a voice interaction already makes things a little bit more accessible for you, because you can speak a command as opposed to having to get up and go like touch a button.
Yeah, or you don't want to touch something because of COVID, or you're cooking. Yeah, really good point. And welcome, Julia.
Yeah. Good question.
Come to the dark side.
And you just beat the buzzer, so that's great. I'll stop the timer actually. So wonderful, great question to end off with. Thank you for being here, and great response. That was a great discussion. We could probably go forever on just that one question, but wonderful. So good to see you all. Thank you so much. I'm going to say goodbye to you all for a bit here. I got a couple announcements. We're going to wrap up a couple of things here, a couple of exciting things to mention. So, all right, we'll move ahead with that part. So thanks, Julia. And then thank you as well to Diana and Caitlin. All right. So what I want to do is, there was a lot of talk. First of all, thank you everybody for the questions. It's fantastic. I know we're just about 6 o'clock now. I just want to take a minute and explain a little bit about the NFTs and some prizes that we have to announce. You'll notice that when I showed these graphics, these are actually collector's cards. And some of you will be aware of this, since episode 1, so since about 10 months ago, we have been creating NFTs of these cards. So they are truly collectible cards. So what I'm going to do is I just want to bring up Ian to explain just a little bit more about what this is, because there's a lot of interest now in NFTs. And I think Ian can explain this a little bit better than I can. I've been partnering with Ian to have these NFTs generated, and then we're going to get to announcing some winners of some of these very NFTs that you are seeing. So here we go. Ian should be coming up on screen any second. And then we're going to announce the Voicefluencers for next week. And then we're going to hop on over to Clubhouse in just a moment. Ian, good to see you as well. I know there's lots of interest about NFTs. So can you give us like the 30-second deal, what's going on with the NFTs and what's the deal with the voiced in and all that kind of stuff?
Well, NFTs are pretty easy to understand. They're non-fungible tokens. So gold would be fungible. You could trade a certain amount of gold for another amount. And a non-fungible item is something that's one of a kind. And so we've created one of a kind digital assets on the Ethereum blockchain that's called NFTs. And so these are collector cards. So imagine if you collected sports cards or stamps or coins, or you got into a video game and you kind of pieced together this collection of swords and shields and things of that nature. You never knew how many there were. You never had any way of proving that it had value. You never had a way to easily sell that or trade that with somebody. And that's what NFTs automate through smart contracts. So we created NFTs for the Voice Den because we have a vision for how we can use that long term. We wanted to introduce NFTs to the voice technology space.
Wonderful. So thank you very much, Ian. Always a pleasure to see you. I'll say goodbye for now. I'm going to do the video to announce the next session Voicefluencers, and then I will tell you who are the winners of the NFTs for this session. So we'll see you in a bit, Ian, all right? Take care.
Great.
Okay, and so with that, I do want to introduce the Voicefluencers for session number 11. And with that, here we go. All right, so there we go. Fantastic, fantastic lineup. Super excited to welcome all of those fantastic Voicefluencers in 1 month's time. And as usual, let's pull up the button. That's the button that you need to register right now for the Voice Den session 11. So I hope that you will enjoy that. Now, we've got to tell you who's going to win some NFTs today. So here we go. 10 people are going to get a set of NFTs. We've got Michael Novak, Andy Mania, Heidi Cohen, Dana Gibson, Roy Obadowski, Scott Culberson, Roger Kibbe, Gina Isham, and two more, Mark Tucker and Larry Aronson. So all of you are going to get a set of collectible NFTs to hold on to or trade or sell or whatever you want to do. They're yours. So I'll be in touch with you about that. So again, I want to say thank you so much to our sponsors. Once again, I'm going to throw up those links to the events. This is the event for the Amazon event going on. This is the link for the Google event going on. I encourage you to check those out. This is the link to join us on Clubhouse in just a few moments. You can go to thevoiceden.club and that will take you directly to the event. And with that said, I'm going to roll the closing credits. Thank you so much to all the Voicefluencers for spending some of your time with us and answering your questions and sharing your knowledge so generously. Thank you to all of you, the participants and the attendees sitting in the Voice Den with us. It's been a real pleasure to bring this to you again. 11's coming up, and then we are at 12. That's 1 year of the Voice Den, and already we have something. There's something in the works for session 12, something pretty special. So be well, everybody. Roll the credits, and I will see you all on Clubhouse. you.